Billionaire's tire blows out. Single father fixes it without knowing who she was, gets shocked. The tire exploded like a gunshot. Celeste's hands jerked on the wheel. The Mercedes fishtailed, and for 3 seconds that felt like 30. She fought physics and lost. The car shuddered to the shoulder in a cloud of dust. She sat there, engine ticking in the heat, watching the empty highway shimmer. Her phone had no signal. Of course it didn't. Outside, the Arizona sun was merciless. Celeste circled the car in her blue heels, stupid heels, boardroom heels, and stared at the carnage. The tire looked like something had tried to eat it. She popped the trunk. Spare tire jack, instructions that might as well have been in Sanskrit. 27 years old, built a hotel empire, couldn't change a tire. She was still staring at the jack when she heard the engine, old, struggling, approaching from the north. A blue sedan appeared, cracked windshield catching the light. It slowed, stopped 20 feet ahead. Celeste straightened, suddenly aware of how this looked. Designer clothes, luxury car, stranded like some kind of corporate damsel. The driver's door opened. He was tall, dark-haired, weathered in a way that suggested real work rather than gym memberships. Faded jeans, gray t-shirt, work boots, maybe early 30s. He moved with a slight limp. "You okay?" he called. Tire blew. No signal. He walked closer. Behind him, the passenger door opened and a little girl emerged. Blonde braids, yellow sundress, stuffed rabbit with one short ear. "Daddy, is the lady okay?" "We're about to find out." He stopped a respectful distance away. "I'm Ryan. That's Hannah." "Celeste?" Ryan crouched by the tire, examining it like a surgeon studying an x-ray. "This is pretty thoroughly dead. You have a spare?" "In the trunk, I think." He glanced up. Not judgment in his eyes. Recognition. He'd met people like her before. "I can change it. Won't take long." "Thank you." Hannah appeared with a water bottle, holding it up like a sacred offering. "It's cold. We have a cooler." Celeste drank half of it before remembering her manners. "Thank you, Hannah." The little girl beamed. "Daddy says we should always help people." Ryan was already working. Efficient, practiced movements. Someone who'd changed a lot of tires. "You live around here?" Celeste asked. "Flagstaff. We were visiting my sister in Phoenix. Long drive, but Hannah likes it." "What do you talk about?" Ryan smiled at his daughter. "Everything. School, her friends, whether rabbits dream." "Do they?" Celeste asked. "Mr. Hopsworth definitely dreams," Hannah said solemnly. "His nose twitches." "Mr. Hopsworth is the rabbit," Ryan clarified, loosening a lug nut. "He's family." Celeste found herself smiling. When was the last time a conversation had been this simple? "What do you do in Flagstaff?" Ryan hesitated. "Just a beat. I work maintenance at a hotel, the Melbrook." Celeste's stomach dropped. Oh God. The Melbrook, Flagstaff. Her property. One of 43 hotels her father had built, that she'd inherited 2 years ago when a heart attack claimed him at 59. Ryan worked for her. He had no idea. She should tell him. Right now. "You know it?" Ryan asked. "I've been there. It's beautiful. Good place to work. Management treats people right. The owner seems to actually care, which is rare." Something twisted in Celeste's chest. He was talking about her. Distant, unknown, just a name on documents. And the casual respect in his voice made her want to keep the lie going just a little longer. "That's good to hear," she said quietly. Ryan got the wheel off. Debris, probably. Or just bad luck. He fitted the spare on, working with careful precision. "There's a service station about 20 miles north. Flagstaff's 40 past that. Don't push it on the spare." "I won't. Thank you." He lowered the jack, tossed the destroyed tire in her trunk, wiped his hands on his jeans. All set. Celeste looked at him, at Hannah clutching her rabbit, at these strangers who'd stopped their day to help someone they didn't know. "Let me pay you." "No need." "Please. You saved me. I changed a tire. It was 20 minutes. "Still, Miss Celeste," Ryan said gently, "I didn't do this for money. I did it because you needed help." The words landed like a punch. How long since someone had helped her without wanting something back? Too long. "Then at least let me buy you dinner. Both of you." Ryan glanced at Hannah. She looked up with those big eyes kids deploy when they want something desperately but are trying not to ask. "We don't want to impose." "You wouldn't be. I was going to stop somewhere anyway. Please." Ryan studied her for a long moment. "All right. There's a diner about 15 miles north. Nothing fancy." "Perfect." The Desert Rose Diner was exactly what Celeste expected. Vinyl booths, cracked parking lot, neon sign flickering in the dusk. Inside smelled like coffee and fryer oil and something baking. A waitress with steel gray hair glanced up. "Sit anywhere, hun." Ryan led them to a corner booth. Hannah claimed the window immediately. "What can I get you folks?" "Coffee," Ryan said. "Chocolate milk," Hannah announced. "Coffee and water," Celeste added. The waitress poured and disappeared. Celeste wrapped her hands around the mug, grateful for warmth despite the desert heat outside. "So," Ryan said, "hospitality work. What's that like?" Celeste chose her words carefully. "Demanding, rewarding, never boring. What about maintenance?" "Problem solving, mostly. Something breaks, you figure out why, you fix it. Tangible results." "Daddy can fix anything," Hannah interjected. "He fixed my bike, and our toaster, and Mrs. Patterson's sink." "Mrs. Patterson is our neighbor," Ryan explained. 78, too proud to ask for help but mentions that her sink's been dripping for 3 weeks. "So you fixed it." "She bakes cookies for Hannah every Sunday. Least I could do." Celeste studied him. "In her world, you called a plumber. You paid someone. The idea of doing it yourself as a favor seemed foreign and strangely beautiful. How long have you been at the Emil Brock?" 4 years. Started in housekeeping, moved to maintenance. Turns out I'm better with pipes than hospital corners. You like it there?" Ryan nodded. "Well-maintained property. Good reputation. Management listens when you bring up issues. I've worked places where requests go into a black hole. The Emil Brock isn't like that." Pride swelled in Celeste's chest. She'd worked hard to create that culture. Responsiveness, respect, investment over extraction. Hearing it confirmed by someone who didn't know he was talking to the owner meant more than any consultant's report. "What brought you to Flagstaff?" she asked. Ryan's expression shifted, a shadow passing behind his eyes. "Fresh start. Hannah and I needed a change of scenery. A boundary. Everyone had histories they didn't discuss." Celeste understood that. The food arrived, huge portions as promised. Hannah's pancakes were the size of dinner plates. Ryan's burger was thick and juicy. Celeste's looked identical. "Fair warning," Ryan said. "You're about to understand why I've been coming here for 4 years." He was right. The burger was spectacular. Hannah chattered between bites, telling Celeste about school and her friend Sophia and the butterfly garden they were planting. Ryan listened with patient attention, asking questions, making Hannah feel like everything she said mattered. Watching him, Celeste felt something unfamiliar stir. Not attraction, though Ryan was attractive in that weathered, capable way, but something deeper. Envy, maybe. This man worked maintenance, drove a car held together with hope, raised his daughter alone, and he seemed more content than Celeste had felt in years. She thought about her mansion in Paradise Valley. 6 bedrooms she never used. Pool she never swam in. Commercial kitchen where she reheated takeout. Closet full of designer clothes. 3 cars. Bank account with more zeros than seemed reasonable. And she ate dinner alone every night. "You got quiet," Ryan observed. "Just thinking." "About?" She almost said, "Nothing." But that felt like a waste of an honest question. "About how the things we think we want aren't always the things that make us happy." Ryan nodded slowly. "Yeah, I've had that thought." "What did you do about it?" "Changed what I was chasing. Realized Hannah and I didn't need much. Just each other. Safe place to live. Work that pays bills. Everything else is extra. That simple. That hard," Ryan corrected. "Simple and hard aren't the same thing." Celeste took a sip of coffee, letting his words settle. "I should tell you something," she said. Ryan raised an eyebrow. "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous. Honest." She set down her mug. "I don't just work in hospitality, I own the hotels. The ML Brock hotels. All of them." For a moment Ryan just stared. Then he set down his burger very carefully. "You're Celeste Davenport?" "Yes." "The owner?" "Yes." Hannah looked between them, confused. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, sweetheart." Ryan's voice was controlled, but his jaw was tight. He turned back to Celeste. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "Because I liked being anonymous. Because you helped me without knowing who I was." "When was the last time that happened? When was the last time anything was that simple?" Ryan leaned back. "So what is this? Some kind of test?" "No. God, no, I didn't plan any of this. My tire blew. You stopped. I wanted to thank you and—" She hesitated. "And I liked talking to you. It felt normal. Do you know how long it's been since anything felt normal?" Ryan glanced at Hannah, who was working on her 3rd pancake, oblivious. "I get that," he said finally. "But you have to understand. You're my boss. You control whether I have a job tomorrow. I would never—" "I know. But the power dynamic is real whether you use it or not. You know everything about me. I know nothing about you except the business section. Celeste felt the truth like a slap. You're right. I should have told you immediately. I just wanted it to not matter. Just for a little while. Ryan studied her. Okay. Okay, I believe you. And okay, we can finish dinner. But after this we go back to regular lives. You're the CEO, I'm the maintenance guy. This was nice, but it can't be more than that. You understand why, right? Celeste nodded, ignoring the stone settling in her chest. I understand. They finished the meal in careful silence. Hannah, sensing the shift, became quieter. When the check came, Celeste paid over Ryan's protests. At least let me do that. Outside, the desert night had settled, temperature dropping, stars scattered like diamonds on velvet. We should get going, Ryan said. School night. Celeste crouched to Hannah's level. It was very nice to meet you. Hannah hugged her suddenly, small arms around Celeste's neck. Bye, Miss Celeste. I hope your car doesn't break again. Me too. Ryan offered his hand. Celeste shook it, feeling calluses from years of work. Take care of yourself, he said. You too. She watched them drive away, taillights disappearing into darkness. Then she stood there breathing cold air, wondering why doing the right thing felt like loss. Back in Phoenix, Celeste poured wine and stood on her terrace, looking at the city lights. The house felt emptier than usual. She thought about Ryan and Hannah in their apartment. Modest, small, probably filled with more warmth than this mansion had seen in years. She'd won, built an empire, more money than 3 lifetimes could spend, and she ate dinner alone every night. Her phone buzzed. Her assistant, probably. Celeste ignored it. Tomorrow, meetings and decisions and the endless grind. But tonight, just for a few more minutes, she wanted to hold on to the memory of a vinyl booth, pancakes with extra syrup, and a conversation that had felt real. 3 days later, Rachel knocked on Celeste's office door. You have a minute? Always. What's up? Rachel set a folder on the desk. Quarterly maintenance reports. Flagstaff sent theirs early. Their supervisor included a note. Celeste opened it, scanning metrics until she reached the note. Want to flag an exemplary employee? Ryan Walker. Consistently goes above and beyond. Last week volunteered to cover 3 emergency shifts. Never complains, always professional. Recommend for employee recognition. Celeste stared at the name. Everything okay? Rachel asked. Fine. This Walker? Do we have his file? Rachel pulled out her tablet, tapping screens. Ryan Walker, hired 4 years ago. Maintenance specialist. Clean record, good evaluations. Lives in Flagstaff with his daughter. Why? Just curious, make sure he gets recognized. Employee of the month. Will do. After Rachel left, Celeste sat at her desk, staring at the folder. She shouldn't do what she was thinking. She did it anyway. An hour later, she'd pieced together a story that made the weight in her chest grow heavier. Ryan Walker, 34, widowed 3 years ago. His wife Sarah died in a car accident. He'd been left with a 4-year-old and a mountain of medical debt. Moved to Flagstaff for stability and health insurance. Rebuilding his life one day at a time. Working maintenance, raising his daughter alone. Fixing neighbors' sinks. Changing strangers' tires. Never asking for anything. And Celeste had invaded his evening. Complicated his life. Then left him with the awkward reality that his boss had seen him at his most vulnerable. She closed her laptop and stared at the Phoenix skyline. What are you doing? She muttered. The answer was obvious. Obsessing over a man she'd met once who'd made her feel something she thought she'd lost. Connection. The possibility that life could be simple and meaningful. It was stupid, inappropriate, a fantasy born of loneliness. She couldn't stop thinking about it. 1 week later, Celeste made a decision. Probably a bad decision. She called the Flagstaff property manager. Tom, it's Celeste Davenport. Ms. Davenport, what can I do for you? I'm planning a visit. Routine inspection. 3 days starting Monday. Tom sounded surprised. Of course. May I ask? Is there a problem? No problem, just overdue. I haven't visited in 6 months. It was reasonable. She did visit properties regularly. The fact that this had nothing to do with operations and everything to do with a man she couldn't stop thinking about was something she'd deal with later, or not at all. I'll make sure everything's perfect, Tom said. Don't go to special trouble. I want to see it as it normally operates. Understood. After hanging up, Celeste sat in her office and wondered what the hell she was doing. Pursuing a man who'd made it clear he didn't want pursuit, using her position to orchestrate proximity, being exactly the kind of person she'd always criticized. But she couldn't help herself. Maybe she'd get to Flagstaff and realize it had been a fantasy. Maybe seeing Ryan in his actual context would break whatever spell had been cast. Or maybe she'd make everything worse. Either way, she had to know. Monday arrived cold and clear. Celeste drove herself to Flagstaff, declining the driver. The route took her past mile marker 47. She recognized it. The memories both distant and immediate. She didn't stop. The M.L. Brock Flagstaff rose against ponderosa pines like something from a western dream. Stone and timber, large windows reflecting mountains, circular driveway with a fountain trickling peacefully. Her father had designed it himself. Tom met her at the front desk, slightly nervous. "Ms. Davenport, welcome. Your suite is ready. Would you like to settle in first? Let's start with maintenance. I want to see the facility. Meet the team." Of course. They toured public spaces first. Lobby, restaurant, conference rooms, then moved to back of house. Laundry humming. Kitchen spotless. Housekeeping storage organized with military precision. Finally, the maintenance shop. Basement level. Large room filled with tools, parts, organized chaos. 2 men bent over a disassembled air conditioning unit. A third at a workbench, repairing a lamp. The third man was Ryan. He looked up. Recognition flashed across his face, followed by something more complicated. Surprise, wariness, maybe anger. "Gentlemen," Tom said, "this is Celeste Davenport, owner of the M.L. Brock properties. Ms. Davenport, this is our maintenance team. Kevin, Steve, and Ryan Walker." Kevin and Steve straightened, offering greetings. Ryan stood more slowly, setting down the lamp with careful precision. "Ms. Davenport," he said, voice professionally neutral. "Mr. Walker, I understand you've been doing excellent work. Your supervisor speaks highly of you. I appreciate that." The air between them felt charged. Tom continued the tour, explaining protocols. Celeste nodded and asked questions, but her attention kept drifting to Ryan, who'd returned to the lamp with focused intensity. After 20 minutes, Tom led her back upstairs. "Everything meets your expectations?" "More than. Your team is clearly well trained." "Thank you. Will you need anything else today?" "No. I'll spend the afternoon reviewing reports." Alone in her suite, the largest with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the San Francisco peaks, Celeste paced. She'd come here for a reason. That reason was currently fixing lamps in the basement, probably resenting her presence. What had she expected? That he'd be happy to see her? She was being ridiculous. She was his boss. The right thing was to complete her inspection, return to Phoenix, and forget Ryan Walker. The right thing. Celeste had spent her life doing the right thing, building the business, honoring her father's legacy, making smart decisions. And where had it gotten her? Alone in a hotel suite, staring at mountains. Her phone rang. Rachel. Celeste let it go to voicemail. At 6:30, someone knocked. Celeste answered, expecting room service. Instead, Ryan stood in the hallway, still in his uniform, looking uncomfortable and determined. "Can I come in?" Celeste stepped back. He didn't sit, just stood in the middle of the living area, hands in pockets. "You came here because of me." "Not a question. No point lying." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. About that evening. About how it felt to talk to someone who didn't want anything from me." Ryan shook his head. "You're making this into something it wasn't. We met, I changed your tire, we had dinner. That's all." "Is it?" "It has to be. You're the owner. I'm an employee. There's no version that doesn't end badly. What if?" "No." Ryan held up a hand. "There's no what if. You live in a mansion, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. You run a company worth hundreds of millions. I fix toilets. Do you see the problem? Those are circumstances. They don't define us." "Of course they define us. Your life is shaped by wealth and power. Mine is shaped by scarcity and responsibility. We don't live in the same world. So what? We pretend we never met. What connection? We talked for 2 hours. You don't know me. I don't know you. You're projecting loneliness onto a stranger who was nice to you, and I'm—" He stopped, running his hand through his hair. "I'm someone who can't afford complications. I have a daughter to raise and bills to pay. I don't need you swooping in because you're having some billionaire existential crisis." The words stung because they were true. "You're right," she said quietly. "I shouldn't have come." Ryan's expression softened slightly. "Look, I'm not trying to be cruel. You seem decent, you treat employees well, but you and me? It's not possible. And there's Hannah to think about. She's been through enough. She doesn't need me bringing someone into her life who's just going to leave when reality sets in." "What makes you sure I'd leave?" "Because you're Celeste Davenport. Your life is champagne and board meetings and international travel. How long before this," he gestured between them, "becomes inconvenient? How long before you realize being with someone like me means diners and old cars and mundane reality you've paid people to handle?" Celeste wanted to argue, but the truth was complicated. She'd never dated outside her world. Every relationship had been with men who understood private jets and property portfolios. The idea that she could just slot Ryan into her life was fantasy, but the longing was real. What if I'm willing to try? Try what? Dating your employee? Do you know how that looks? Then I'll… What? Fire me? That's worse. Keep me employed while we date? That's a lawsuit. There's no clean way. Ryan was right. Every angle revealed complications, ethical problems, ways this could damage them both. So what do? Nothing. You finish your inspection, go back to Phoenix, and we both move on. That's it. That's it. Silence pressed down like physical weight. Celeste wanted to argue to find some loophole, but she was tired of pushing, tired of wanting things she couldn't have. Okay, she said finally. You win. This isn't about winning. No, it's about you being smart enough to recognize a bad situation. I respect that. I don't like it, but I respect it. Ryan nodded. For what it's worth, if things were different, maybe. But they're not. If things were different, Celeste repeated softly. Saddest phrase in the English language. Ryan almost smiled. Yeah. He moved toward the door, then paused. Take care of yourself, Celeste. And maybe think about what you really want, not what you're supposed to want. What actually makes you happy? What if I don't know? Then figure it out. You're smart enough to run a company. You're smart enough to figure out your own life. He left. Celeste stood in the empty suite, listening to his footsteps fade, wondering when she'd become someone who let the right choice feel like the wrong one. She didn't go to dinner, ordered room service instead, spent the evening on her laptop, pretending to focus on reports. Every few minutes her mind drifted back to the conversation, picking at his words. What actually makes you happy? When was the last time she'd asked herself that? When was the last time the answer hadn't been success or the business or proving I'm worthy? Her phone buzzed. Rachel. This time Celeste answered. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Seattle acquisition. They agreed to our terms. We can close by month's end. Another property. Another addition to the empire. Should feel like victory. Felt like noise. That's great. Send me the paperwork. Are you okay? You sound tired. Just a long day, I'm fine. How's Flagstaff? Perfect. Tom runs a good operation. I'll be back tomorrow. After hanging up, Celeste walked to the window. Below, exterior lights illuminated the grounds. Pool area closed, gardens maintained, parking lot half full. All of it was hers. Her responsibility, her legacy, her purpose. And tonight, she felt nothing. She thought about Ryan and Hannah somewhere in this city, having dinner together, talking about school, making weekend plans, living a life that had nothing to do with quarterly earnings, a life that seemed impossibly rich. Celeste finished her wine and went to bed, knowing tomorrow she'd drive back to Phoenix, back to her mansion and office and carefully constructed existence. She'd be fine. She always was. But as she drifted off, she couldn't shake Ryan's words. If things were different, the devastating part wasn't that things were different. It was that maybe they didn't have to be. Next morning, Celeste completed her inspection, praised Tom, and drove back to Phoenix under a sky so blue it looked artificial. She told herself she'd done the right thing, respected boundaries, accepted that some connections weren't meant to develop. She almost believed it. At the mansion, she unpacked and returned to routine. Meetings, decisions, emails. The machinery of business continued its relentless motion, and Celeste moved with it because that's what she'd been trained to do. But something had shifted. Some fundamental assumption had cracked. She couldn't force it back together. 3 days after returning, Rachel knocked. Sorry to interrupt, but you have a visitor. No appointment, but she says it's important. Who? Hannah Walker. Celeste's heart stuttered. Send her in. A moment later, Hannah entered, looking small in the corporate environment. School uniform, navy with white trim, backpack covered in butterfly stickers. Behind her, uncertain and clearly unhappy, was Ryan. Hannah insisted. Ryan said, I tried to talk her out of it. I wanted to see where Miss Celeste works. Hannah interrupted. She walked up to the desk with childhood confidence. Daddy said you were too busy, but I wanted to make sure you were okay. Celeste blinked. That's sweet, I'm okay. How are you? I'm good. School is good. Mr. Hopsworth is good. But Daddy's been sad. Hannah, Ryan warned. It's true, you keep staring out the window. Despite everything, Celeste almost smiled. She glanced at Ryan, who looked like he wanted the floor to open. Your dad is probably just tired, Celeste said. That's what he said, but I think he misses you. The words hung in the air, innocent and devastating. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. Hannah, remember what I said in the car? That I shouldn't say anything about how you think about Miss Celeste all the time? Exactly. You weren't supposed to say that. Celeste's chest felt tight. She looked at Ryan, who looked back with frustration, embarrassment, and something that might have been hope. Can I talk to your dad alone? Hannah nodded. Okay. Can I wait outside? There's a fish tank. Of course. After Hannah left, Ryan and Celeste stood in the office, City sprawling behind the windows, silence stretching. I'm sorry, Ryan said. She insisted on coming. I tried to explain. Do you really think about me all the time? Ryan stopped. That's not because I think about you constantly, about that evening, about how you saw me as just Celeste, about how you helped without wanting anything, which literally never happens. We discussed this. All the reasons it can't work. I've been thinking about those reasons. You're right about most of them. Power dynamic is complicated. Wealth gap is significant. But I've been running numbers my whole life. Here's what I realized. None of those obstacles are insurmountable. They're just difficult. Difficult is an understatement. Maybe. But I've built a company on solving difficult problems. Why should my personal life be different? Ryan shook his head. But resistance was weakening. What are you proposing? Start with coffee. Just coffee. No expectations. We see if this is real or wishful thinking. If it's real, we figure out complications together. If not, we part as friends. And if people find out, if it becomes a scandal, then it becomes a scandal. I've weathered worse. Celeste moved closer. Ryan, I've spent my life making safe choices, building the business, protecting the legacy, never taking risks. And you know what? I'm miserable. I have everything I'm supposed to want. And I've never been lonelier. So I'm what? Your rebellion? No. You're someone who made me realize I've been optimizing for the wrong things. Maybe success isn't about accumulation. Maybe it's about what you're willing to risk for something that matters. Long silence then. Just coffee? Just coffee. If you hate it, you never see me again outside work. But if you don't, she let it hang. Saturday afternoon, Ryan finally said. Coffee shop near my apartment. 2:00. If I hate it, we walk away clean. Deal. They shook hands. Electricity in the touch despite the professional gesture. Ryan held her gaze longer than necessary. This is probably a terrible idea, he said. Most of the best things are. After they left, Celeste stood at her window, watching Phoenix traffic crawl below. She should feel anxious, should be calculating risks. Instead, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Anticipation. Saturday was 4 days away. Anything could happen. Ryan could change his mind. She could come to her senses. The universe could remind them why impossible things are impossible. But maybe impossible was just another word for hasn't happened yet. Celeste picked up her phone and called Rachel. Clear my schedule Saturday afternoon, personal matter. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Actually, she paused, surprised by the truth. Everything might be better than fine. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Celeste was looking forward to the weekend. Not because it was a break from work, because it contained possibility. Something that had nothing to do with quarterly reports or board meetings or inherited expectations. Something just for her. And if that was selfish, if that was a risk, if that was the wrong choice according to every rule she'd been taught, well, maybe it was time to rewrite some rules. Saturday arrived with crystalline sunshine. Celeste drove north, no pretense this time. No inspection. Just a woman meeting a man for coffee. She'd agonized over what to wear. 27 years old, negotiated multi-million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. Choosing an outfit for coffee felt impossible. Dark jeans, cream cashmere sweater, ankle boots, hair down, minimal makeup. The closest thing to just Celeste her wardrobe could produce. Mountain Brew was tucked in a strip mall between a bookstore and yoga studio. Mismatched furniture, local art, smell of fresh beans. Through the window, Ryan already there, 2 cups on the table. He'd remembered her coffee order. Celeste pushed through the door. Ryan looked up, stood. Jeans, dark green flannel. Dressed like himself, but the best version. You came, he said. Did you think I wouldn't? 50-50. They talked for an hour, then 2. Conversation flowed like it had at the diner. Easy, natural, punctuated by laughter. Ryan told her about Hannah's papier-mâché volcano that nearly destroyed their kitchen. Celeste told him about the Seattle acquisition, keeping it human. So you bought another hotel? That's 44? 44. Sometimes I wonder if my father would think I've done enough. Maybe the question isn't whether he'd think it's enough. Maybe it's whether you think it's enough. Celeste stared into her coffee. I don't know what enough looks like anymore. So stop. Stop what? Stop chasing. You've built an empire. You employ thousands. By any measure, you've succeeded. What are you still trying to prove? That I deserve it? That I didn't just get lucky? Ryan reached across the table, his calloused hand covering hers. Celeste, you've been running this company for 2 years. If you didn't deserve it, everyone would know. The fact that you're terrified of failing, that's what keeps you from being the kind of boss who doesn't give a damn. The words hit deeper than he intended. Celeste blinked back tears. Sorry, I don't usually. Don't apologize. God knows I've had parking lot crying sessions. Over what? Everything. Losing Sarah, worrying about Hannah, whether I'm screwing up single parenting, whether I'm enough. He squeezed her hand. We're all terrified we're not enough. The difference is, some of us admit it. They left the coffee shop, walked through downtown Flagstaff, past galleries and restaurants and shops. Hannah wanted to come today, Ryan said. I told her this was a grown-up coffee date. What did she say? Asked if you were my girlfriend. I said I didn't know yet. What do you know? Ryan stopped walking, turned to face her on the sidewalk. People flowed around them. I know you're the first person in 3 years who's made me think about more than surviving. I know my daughter asks about you constantly. I know every logical part of my brain is screaming this is terrible, but I can't make myself care. So what do? We try. Carefully. No announcements, no rushing. We figure out if this is real. And if it is, we deal with the complications. There will be a lot. I'm aware. Ryan smiled. Okay then. Let's try. They tried. Over the next month, Celeste found reasons to visit Flagstaff every weekend. Sometimes legitimate business, sometimes transparent excuses everyone pretended to believe. They were careful. Met away from the hotel at places where nobody knew them. It couldn't last. The explosion came on a Wednesday in late November. Celeste was in her office when her phone rang. Ms. Davenport, Jennifer Martinez, Phoenix Business Journal. I'm calling about your relationship with Ryan Walker. Any comment? Celeste's stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. We have photographs. You and Mr. Walker. Multiple occasions over the past month. We're running a story about the MEL Brock CEO dating her maintenance employee. Wanted to give you a chance to respond. No comment. Celeste hung up. Called Ryan immediately. We have a problem. By evening, the story was everywhere. Every gossip site, business blog, social media platform. Mel Brock billionaire dating hotel janitor. CEO's secret romance raises ethics questions. Celeste Davenport's downgrade from venture capitalist to maintenance man. That last one made Celeste want to break something. Ryan called at 7. I'm sorry. Not your fault. Someone at the hotel recognized you, took pictures, sold them. It was always going to come out. Time for what? To figure out if this was worth fighting for. Silence. Then, is it? Celeste thought about the past month. Weekend mornings hiking. Dinners at Ryan's apartment, learning to appreciate simple meals and children's laughter. Conversations that stretched into midnight. She thought about the alternative. Mansion, lonely dinners, impressive accomplishments and crushing isolation. Yes, she said, it's worth fighting for, even if it damages your reputation. Especially then. Next morning, emergency board meeting. Directors gathered in the Phoenix conference room, expressions ranging from concerned to openly hostile. I assume you've seen the news, Celeste began. We have, said Margaret Chen, longest-serving board member and her father's oldest friend. Celeste, what were you thinking? That I'm entitled to a personal life, not with an employee. Then I'll handle it. Ryan transfers to another property, different management, or I set up independent oversight. That's not enough, David Walsh interrupted. CFO, always the numbers guy. This is a PR nightmare. Billionaire CEO preying on low-wage employee. I'm not preying on anyone. The power dynamic makes consent complicated. Margaret leaned forward. Celeste, I loved your father. I've supported you through everything. But this crosses a line. End this relationship, publicly, immediately, or risk everything he built. Silence. Celeste looked around. People she'd worked with for years. People she'd won over through competence. They weren't wrong about complications, but they were wrong about what mattered. No, Celeste said. Excuse me? I said no. I'm not ending my relationship to satisfy optics. Ryan is a good man who works hard, raises his daughter with grace. The fact that he doesn't have money doesn't make him less worthy. This isn't about worth, David said. It's about propriety, protecting the company. The company will survive a CEO who dates outside the executive class. What it won't survive is me perpetuating the idea that wealth determines human value. Your father would be horrified, Margaret said quietly. The words stung. Celeste held her ground. My father would want me happy, and for the first time in years I am. She stood. I'm not asking permission. Ryan will transfer where I'm not in his chain of command. We'll establish ethical guidelines, I'll be transparent, but I won't end it. If that's not acceptable, call a vote of no confidence. The threat hung in the air. As majority shareholder, Celeste couldn't be easily removed, but a hostile board could make her life hell. I'll give you until Monday, David said. If you haven't ended this by then, I'm resigning, and I'll make sure every investor knows why. David, Margaret started. No, I won't be part of this disaster. He stood, grabbed his briefcase. I built the financial strategy for this company. I won't watch her destroy it over some janitor. He walked out. The door slammed. Celeste felt the room shift. Other directors exchanged glances. Anyone else want to leave? She asked, voice steady despite the adrenaline. Silence. Margaret finally spoke. I don't like this, but I respect that you're handling it openly. If you set up proper oversight, we can manage. One by one, others reluctantly agreed. But the damage was done. Celeste had lost her CFO. More importantly, she'd lost the illusion that her board had her back unconditionally. After they left, Margaret pulled her aside. David will talk. Investors will panic. Your stock price will drop. Are you prepared for that? I have to be. I hope he's worth it. He is. But even if he wasn't, I'd do this anyway. I can't keep living for other people's expectations. Margaret's expression softened. Your father did want you happy. He also wanted you safe. Try to give us both. The media firestorm intensified. By Friday, Mel Brock stock had dropped 8%. 2 investors called emergency meetings. 3 management executives from other properties requested clarification calls. Celeste spent the week in damage control mode, explaining, justifying, defending choices she shouldn't have to defend. Ryan wasn't spared either. Thursday night, he called, voice tight. Someone spray-painted gold digger on my car. Celeste felt sick. God, Ryan, I'm so sorry. It's fine, it's just paint. But Hannah saw it. She asked what it meant. What did you tell her? That some people are angry about things they don't understand. But she's 7. She understands someone hurt us on purpose. I'll hire security. No, that makes it worse. Makes it look like I need protection from my own life. He was quiet. I knew this would be hard. I just didn't think it would touch her. We can stop. If it's too much, don't. Don't give me an out, just because it's difficult. I told you I was in this. Are you still? Long pause. Yeah, I'm still in. But Celeste, you need to understand. This isn't just about us anymore, it's about Hannah. If this gets worse, if she starts getting bullied at school because of who her dad is dating, I'll have to make a choice. I understand. She did. And the weight of that understanding felt crushing. Saturday, Celeste drove to Flagstaff anyway. She'd promised Hannah they'd visit the science center. Ryan's apartment was modest. 2 bedrooms. Lived-in furniture. Kitchen that smelled like cinnamon. Hannah's artwork covered the fridge. Hannah answered the door, face lighting up. Miss Celeste. She hugged Celeste's waist. Over her head, Celeste saw Ryan in the kitchen, looking tired but managing a smile. You still want to do this? He asked. Absolutely. The science center was crowded. Families, kids running everywhere, noise echoing off high ceilings. Hannah dragged them from exhibit to exhibit, explaining everything with 7-year-old authority. At the planetarium show, sitting in darkness while stars wheeled overhead, Hannah squeezed between them, taking both their hands. Celeste looked at Ryan across Hannah's blonde head. He looked back, and somehow, despite everything, the media circus, the board battle, the spray paint, the uncertainty, this felt right. Worth it. 3 months later, things had stabilized. Ryan transferred to Santa Fe. The ethics investigation concluded with a formal reprimand and mandatory oversight structure. Stock price recovered most of its losses. David Walsh never came back. Celeste hired a new CFO who cared less about optics. The relationship continued. Weekend visits, video calls, a slow building of something real despite the distance. One Saturday in February, Celeste stood in her Phoenix kitchen, actually cooking for once, following a recipe Ryan had texted her. Hannah was in the pool with a swim instructor Celeste had hired. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Davenport? This is Elena Rodriguez, producer for 60 Minutes. We'd like to interview you about your relationship and the ethics of CEO workplace dynamics. Would you be interested? Celeste looked out at the pool where Hannah was practicing her backstroke, looked at the pasta sauce simmering on the stove. looked at the life she was building that had nothing to do with proving herself. "No," she said. "I wouldn't. It would be a chance to tell your side. I don't need to tell my side. I know what happened. The people who matter know what happened. The rest is noise." She hung up. Ryan arrived an hour later, kissed her hello, complimented her pasta sauce even though it was definitely oversalted. Hannah emerged from the pool, wrapped in a towel, chattering about how she'd swum an entire lap without stopping. They ate dinner on the terrace as the sun set. Simple food, simple conversation, complicated history that was slowly becoming simple present. "Stock prices back up," Celeste said. "I saw. We got another acquisition offer. Seattle. You taking it?" Celeste thought about it. Maybe. Or maybe 44 properties is enough. Maybe it's time to focus on what I have instead of what I could have. Ryan reached across the table. "Look at you. Learning work-life balance. Learning that life is the work that actually matters." Hannah was chasing a butterfly along the terrace railing, Mr. Hopsworth tucked under one arm. "She asked me yesterday if you're going to be her mom," Ryan said quietly. Celeste's breath caught. "What did you tell her?" "That we're taking things one day at a time. That she should ask you herself when she's ready." "And if she asks, what will you say?" Celeste watched Hannah, thought about the past 6 months. The battles, the headlines, the cost, the choice to keep choosing this despite everything. "I'll say I'd be honored. If that's what she wants. If that's what you want." Ryan's hand tightened on hers. "That's what I want. Has been for a while." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Hannah play in the fading light. It wasn't perfect. The relationship still required logistics and compromise. Ryan still lived in Santa Fe. Celeste still had a company to run. There were still challenges ahead. Blending families, managing public scrutiny, figuring out what forever looked like. But for now, with dinner finished and Hannah laughing and Ryan's hand warm in hers, Celeste decided that some questions could wait. She'd spent her whole life planning, strategizing, optimizing. Maybe it was time to just live. Maybe wealth wasn't measured in quarterly reports or property portfolios. Maybe it was measured in moments like this. Simple, imperfect, real. The road ahead would have obstacles, but they'd figure it out. Together. Because sometimes the best things in life aren't the ones you plan for. They're the ones that find you on a desert highway when your tire blows and a stranger stops to help. And nothing is ever the same again.